it's time to start crying.
Oh boy.
Okay, so
I didn't cry.
I teared up
Did you
real
cry?
hard. I didn't full on like cry, but I was close. So Brittany, last time you went through the decisions one by one. Did you want to do that again this time?
Absolutely. I have them right here.
Wonderful. So
Wonderful.
to recap what happened in episode 1 and 2, we are at a point where we just got some pretty shocking news that we found out this character, Sarah, is Rachel's biological mother. We don't really get a sense of this other woman. Do you guys remember her name?
Rose.
Rose, yes.
The
of
actual wife?
Yeah, of
Yeah.
like at what point Rose came into the picture, of how old Rachel was, like has she been there since she was a baby? Clearly, we learn more about this in the opening moments of this scene. So the first opening scene was something that we didn't see during our playthrough, and I understand now why they held it back. So if you guys remember, we had Ashley Birch and Chris Floyd into the studio here to show us the opening of this episode. And they conveniently left a cutscene out of that demo. So in that demo, we essentially get the story from Rachel's dad about how he and Sarah, met and how they fell in love and how they had this baby, and then how she suffered from addiction and that she was like this wild spirit and everybody loved her in high school, and very much reminiscent of who Rachel is as a character. But then, he was never going to be enough for her, that her wild, crazy, passionate personality just needed more. And instead of turning to other healthier outlets, she turned to drug use.
Heroin.
Needles, we saw. So that's pretty tragic. And essentially the end of that story, that opening scene, ends with him essentially accusing her of caring more about her addiction than about her daughter, which is why he removes her from their home and leaves Sarah and then brings us back to present day. So, Britt, what is the first decision?
So the first decision actually doesn't take place until after you have your moment with Rachel in her bedroom. It's when you are back home and you find your room searched. Did you destroy the plant with soda?
Yes,
I did.
I did.
Yep, so did I.
R.I.P. plant.
81% of people killed the plant with soda, and 19% of people killed the plant with neglect.
Aw.
So the plant dies either way.
It
Yeah,
said,
save the plant.
to be fair, the prompt said water. It didn't say water with soda.
But
So,
she
you
was
think
holding
you're
a
going to be
soda
taking
can.
care of the plant when you hit that button, and then she just dumps soda on it, and you're like, girl, what are you doing? Even I know not to do that, and I kill plants all the time.
That was pretty funny.
Timer.
So after that moment, you shower, you dye a strand of your hair blue, and you go downstairs, and there's a scene with Joyce and, God, what's his name?
David.
David. Thank
Madsen.
you. Step douche. And at one point, David offers you a photograph, trying to relate with Chloe and loss and all that. Did you accept David's photograph?
I
Of
did.
course,
I
I'm not a
did.
monster.
Yeah.
Are you
Everyone
though?
did? Yeah.
Well, I was at a point where I was
Love
like,
you.
listen, Chloe, you're being kind of a bitch. You need to take a step in the direction. Clearly, he's making your mom happy. So this decision comes after you see a scene between Joyce and David where they're kind of dancing in the kitchen.
He's
they're
making
playing
her
music.
eggs.
He's being real sweet to her.
It's Mother's
And-
Day. That's
And
And you're a terrible child that has done nothing for your mother.
Yes.
Yeah.
And not to say that Chloe obviously doesn't have her issues for obvious reasons, but like she's so mean to her mom because like her mom lost her partner, lost her husband. Like it's been tough for Joyce too, and Chloe's just being really insensitive to that.
Right.
Not
Right.
only
The
that, I want to pick a bone
Yeah.
about the fact that
do it.
she just freaking leaves. She's like, it's Mother's Day. Oops, I really gotta go, Mom. And like her mom just lets her go. I'd be like, oh hell no. Grab you by the ear. You are you're spending the day with me. Like, what do you think you're doing?
Yeah,
I
that
didn't
just
catch
made me
that it was
mad.
Mother's Day.
Yeah.
I missed that.
yeah. and I know Joyce is trying to create an environment where Chloe feels safe, right? She's like, I want you to come home and I want you to be able to feel like you can just live or whatever. At first, I'm like, that's stupid. What the hell is she doing? That mom, blah, 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 blah. But then I realized growing up, I had friends who had parents like that were like, I don't care if you want to smoke weed, if you want to drink, as long as you come home by a certain time. Granted, Chloe never comes home by curfew anyway. And I was like, okay, like I can, that's realistic. Parents do parent that way sometimes. That was a little weird though.
That's true, but my parents were the exact opposite, where like we had an alarm on our house, and so you could not sneak out if you tried. You would set the alarm off, and everyone would know.
Over.
And this was the cherry on top, was that when I left the house, like I'm the youngest, when I went off to college, guess what stopped getting set at night?
The alarm.
alarm.
Oh, no.
Oh, that's hilarious. The next choice, fast forwards. Oh, okay. This ultimately, what did you do with Drew's money? That's kind of this statistic here. So 62% of people did not have Drew's money at the start of the day in episode 3. 29% gave Drew's money to Damon. 1% returned Drew's money to him. 4% donated Drew's money to the firefighter fund, and 4% kept Drew's money.
I didn't have the money at the start of the day.
I had it.
I gave the money to Damon in the hallway because I intervened. I didn't stay in the room with Drew. Or with Mikey. I went out and was like, "Stop beating him. Here's the money. Go away."
Yeah, and that was what I did. And that's only 29% of people, which is kind of surprising.
I gave it to Damon, but I gave it to him in episode 3 because I stayed with Mikey, and because I didn't quite really know how it was gonna shake out, and then I still had the money, and I was like, shit, I didn't mean to keep this money. I just have it here.
Did you though?
And then he's a scary drug dealer, so I was like, here, take it. I didn't actually. God, take your $1,000 and leave me alone.
So the next decision takes place at the hospital. So a lot happens between then and then.
Yeah.
Then and then.
And then.
Then and then. So the next decision is, did you visit the Norths at the hospital?
Right. So
Yes.
like, let's talk about how we end up at the hospital, right? So, the Norths are there because Mikey's arm got broken in my playthrough.
Yeah.
I believe
Drew's
if
knee
you
is busted in mine.
Yeah, because you Drew, right? Is the
Drew's
other option.
knee is busted, yeah.
But you're there because of
Rachel got stabbed.
Rachel got stabzored.
yes. So you have this altercation with this drug dealer, Damon. And because what's happening is Chloe is trying to find Sarah so that Rachel can have a reconciliation with her, because Rachel's parents have said, don't try to find Sarah. We've kind of exiled her from our life. We don't want her here. Don't go look for her. She's not somebody that needs to be part of your life, is what Rachel's dad has said to her. But Rachel,
Not only that she's accepted money every month in order to stay away. So he's essentially saying your mother accepted money over seeing you.
right.
Yeah.
And so he's really kind of set Sarah up as the fall guy, which makes sense. And so Rachel, of course, being a 16-year-old girl who can think for herself, says, like, you don't get to make that decision for me. I want to find her. And so she's asked Chloe, now, Chloe, can you help me do this? And Chloe's like, well, I saw her come out of Frank. So Chloe contacts Frank to be like, well, where is she? And now they're fighting with the drug dealer. And the drug, that whole interchange was super tense. I did not like it. I did not like how aggressive he was being with such young girls.
Yeah.
They really wrote him and played him as like a really like asshole character. And then he ends up stabbing Rachel, and I'm trying to remember how,
because she hits him in the head. So what happens is that the turning point where it becomes more violent is Chloe says Rachel's name, and Damon picks up on it and is like, wait, Rachel Amber, you're the DA's daughter, you're gonna give me some dirt on your dad right now. And then obviously they're like, no, fuck you. And Rachel at some point gets fed up. I think Frank is like, Damon, cool off. But Rachel escalates the situation by taking a piece of wood and hitting Damon over the head with it.
oh yes, the 2x4.
After he already has shown a giant knife that he has. So obviously he picks up his knife, which I think fell on the ground, and then stabs her in the armpit.
You know,
Like
he
the-
nicks
yeah,
her
here.
artery. So he nicks a major artery when he cuts her, and she starts to bleed out.
Yes.
Mhm.
And so you got to get the hell out of Dodge. You put her in like your shitty truck.
Yeah, so
that
Frank
you-
pulls off Damon, and then you drive with your, like you said, shitty truck to the hospital.
I did like
and
that
obviously-
moment of Chloe fixing the truck up. I thought it was really sweet.
That was cute.
Yeah, that was cute.
That was really cute. Then obviously the Norths are there because they already had their run-in with Damon themselves. So, did you ladies visit the Norths at the hospital?
Yes.
Yes, of course.
Okay, 72% of people did, 2% did not. I'm assuming that people didn't, like, they just walked too far and then the cutscene ensued and like, whoops.
Probably.
26% sparred with Drew over pudding.
I didn't get that option.
No.
I didn't either.
I don't know how that
I
even
didn't try to so there's Drew has the thing of pudding, and I just looked at it and I was like, oh, that looks good, and he's like, yeah, that looks good, or he's like, yeah, I'm gonna eat it.
I didn't even try.
I'm wondering if you kept doing it, maybe you would. I don't know, it's weird.
I'm not a pudding
I don't know.
person, so I just
love
didn't go to the
pudding.
pudding.
Yeah, I
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
care that
pudding.
much because it didn't
pudding's
look
so
that good to me.
Though. Now I want pudding.
Pudding.
Butterscotch
Good.
pudding is one of my faves. So good.
Oh, yeah.
Girl,
That's
my
good shit.
my family makes a butterscotch pudding bar dessert.
What?
This is like
That you're gonna make this
Oh my
weekend
God.
so that
so
we
North
can eat
Dakota.
it
I
on
can't
Monday?
even tell you. I'll make it for you guys. I'll
Oh
get
my
the recipe
God.
from my aunt.
Ugh.
That'd be great.
Are we cooking
Yay.
again? Let's cook.
Yeah, it'd be great.
Cooking party.
Um,
Ramen noodles
and
and butterscotch
zero-
bars.
Butterscotch is good. 0% of people played tabletop with Mikey. No, I'm
What?
wondering if that. No.
I didn't
I'm
get that
wondering.
option.
I'm wondering because I played tabletop with
I
Mikey.
played.
But what I'm wondering this means is if maybe Drew had been hospitalized, then maybe you had the option to play tabletop with
Yeah,
Mikey.
if Drew, so when you walk in, if Drew is the one being hospitalized, Mikey and God, I forgot her name.
Steph.
That girl, Steph are sitting there with the Dungeons and Dragons book open, in his room playing. So I saw that
But
and
I
just
thought
didn't think.
I couldn't do anything with it. Could you, Alexa?
I didn't try.
I did. I was like, oh, I want to like finish her. I want to like be the barbarian.
But you
But
can.
anytime I hit talk to them, they just like did throwaway lines, and I was like, oh, okay, I guess
Interesting.
it's time for me to go.
So in my playthrough, Mikey was hospitalized, and I got to play D&D, the final round of D&D with Mikey and Steph, and even Drew got in on the action, and that was really cute.
Yeah, it was
Um,
fun. I
did-
died at the end of mine. Did you win or did you lose?
I sacrificed myself in a sense. So there's no stat on this, but in the end, what I decided to do, because Mikey had like this bracelet or something that would allow him to like survive the impending final attack that would kill everyone and everything. And I'm like, wear it, and I will sacrifice myself, and that's how I died.
That's how I died too. But then Mikey's character died in my playthrough.
Oh, really? Oh,
Yeah.
no. I wonder if you failed the talk back or whatever.
I
smack
failed
talk.
every single talkback. I did not win
Oh.
a single talkback. I did not
Wait,
master that
what?
mechanic. I did not understand it. I tried to figure it out, and every talkback in every episode I failed.
I only
I
lost.
kind of like that idea of Chloe. Like Chloe's still trying though, like, but she just keeps fucking it up.
So I succeeded my smack talk. So I'm wondering if that's why his character lived. So I was just
Maybe.
like super encouraging and like super like into it, and I think that's probably why I
Maybe.
succeeded.
Yeah, like maybe like
Um,
in the first, like if the first game you could be encouraging to him, or you could kind of like be like disinterested. So maybe the
Yeah.
stats go back to like how you played the game the first time.
Yeah, I
Um,
just totally LARPed, and I was like, "Yeah, we can do this," and we did. Well, we
I
did.
only
did.
lost
totally
one.
loved.
I only lost one talkback in this entire series, and it's the one with Elliot from this episode.
Oh, I lost one, and it
Oh.
was the principal in episode 1 or 2.
yeah, I
I was like,
remember that.
oops.
I
Is
lost them all. I'm terrible at talking back. Bad at it.
But you're not in real life. You're really quite good at it.
Oh, thanks.
The next statistic comes from those who donated to the firefighters fund. So 95% did not have anything to donate. 1% donated $250. 4% donated $1,000, and 0% donated $1,250.
Wow.
I did not have any money to
1,050.
donate. Also, I did
Right.
not see where I was supposed to donate. When this
There was
when
a-
this decision came up, I did not know that it was an option.
Yeah, there was the little box in the hospital, which I had no money, so
Did
I ain't got nothing for you.
Did you guys listen to what the firefighters were talking about?
Yes. About
So,
the fire
but I
put
forgot
itself
already.
out.
So the fire.
Oh, yeah.
The
The
firefighters
fire
are
was
like, the
gone.
fire just went out. The fire just it put itself out. At the
Right when
same
Rachel
time,
gets injured severely.
at the same time, Rachel is bleeding out in the hospital. Coincidence?
No,
Yeah.
clearly not a coincidence.
She is the fire.
So Rachel wakes up and you visit and talk with her, and of course she still wants to pursue her mother. And she's like, "Hey, here's where the house key's located. Here's my dad's code to his office. Please go in there and snoop around and see what information you can dig up on my mom." So do we want to talk about that, because the next decision comes down to who you revealed as the snitch to Damon.
Yes. So, in that scene, you do a lot of digging around in the DA's office looking for dirt. I remember looking around and seeing things that I thought were pretty normal. I remember being confused about the choice options, about who you could kind of pin it on. Obviously, like, Sheldon I recognize as like the douchebag from the mill. But the other guy, that one guy, I was like, I didn't know who it was, but like, he's the one who, like, if you read his file, he like had in his court testimony like confessed to like being a snitch, and so I was like, oh well, that's the guy. But then I picked him to be the one that I ratted out to Damon, and then it like turned on me. I got confused.
Wait,
Turned on you
did
how?
pick
What
the guy
happened?
with like the Hawaiian tattoos or the Samoan tattoos?
No, not the
'Cause that's the actual snitch.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. You have to dig around a few times. It's not in the files, it's on the computer.
I must have missed it.
The computer, if you pull up the file, it'll say it's the doorman from the mill. And Chloe has a thing where she's like, "Oh, it's that guy, but he was really cool to me." So I did not tell him that it was him, and I tried to pin it on someone else.
That's what I did.
What do you mean it turned on you? What happened?
So Brittany, what's the decision there?
17% convinced Damon that Gerald, thinking of Geralt, was the snitch. 53% convinced Damon that Sheldon was the snitch, and 30% revealed to Damon that Thunder. So Thunder is the bouncer. That's the actual snitch. No, Gerald or Sheldon? Who is who? Because I thought it was just Thunder,
Throwaway
Frank.
characters.
Sheldon is
Yeah.
the guy from the first episode that Chloe gets in a fight with at the concert.
But wasn't Frank also an option to convince that he was the snitch?
No.
No, Frank
no,
had a
'cause you
file
say,
you
like,
could look at.
Frank's not
Yeah.
it.
But Frank
Yeah, okay.
wasn't a snitch option.
Sheldon is that asshole from the first episode.
Gerald is the guy that I convinced Damon was the snitch. But what happens later is that, like, in the text messages, like, you can read the messages between Damon and this guy, and he's like, "No way, dude, it wasn't me." Blah blah blah. And I was
That's
like,
what I got to.
And I was like, wait.
Yeah, but I
you are
figured,
the
like, of
snitch.
course he's gonna say that. What is a snitch gonna be like? Oh yeah, it was me. Like, come on.
That's fair. That's a fair point.
Yeah.
So one of the whole episode, I was a blubbering mess. I cried more during this episode. I mean, I'm talking like tears were in my face. Sometimes my face got a little like contorted because I was trying not to ugly cry. It was very emotional for me. But one of the first things, so I was kind of riding that emotion wave. But one of the first things that really took me out of the experience, I know it's part of the in-game shenanigans, but when you can graffiti the dad's desk
Yeah.
and call it like the booze
Yeah.
drawer, I'm like, you know what I mean?
No.
I feel like if I was in that in that room, everything I picked up, I would put back down. I would be wearing gloves because he's a fucking DA. Like, he probably
True.
fingerprint all of that stuff.
Yep.
You are smarter than Chloe.
And so I was like, really, at that point, I was like, okay, this is just a game. Like, this is just something to mark off, like, on the, like, achievement, the trophy, whatever. That's all. That's, like, one of my only issues.
No,
with-
I'm glad you brought this up because I think there was a turning point in the storytelling of the DA at the very beginning of the episode. Because when you are coming out of episode 2, you're thinking, like, when you meet her dad in their house for dinner, you're thinking this guy is like a bona fide asshole, right? Like he's a prick, he's cheating on his wife, he's kissing some random girl in a park. Like, you don't like this guy. And so you come into episode 3 kind of heated about it, and then you get the whole story, and you hear about his love and his compassion for his daughter and how he made this tough decision to leave this woman that he obviously cared very deeply for, because he knew it was the best thing for his daughter's well-being long term to get her away from an addict as her parent. And like, I feel like it really changed my opinion of him as a character, to the point where I was like, okay, I think I can be on your side now. And it I guess kept having conflicting opinions about like snooping in his office and going against his wishes. I mean, obviously it leads up to what the ultimate decision will be, which we'll get to in a little bit. But like, during that scene, I know exactly the feeling you're talking about, Brittany. It felt wrong that I was graffitiing his desk, because I felt like I was on his side now. At that point, I was like, yeah, I'm snooping into your things, but like vandalizing.
Yeah, but then
his
you
desk?
find, I mean, granted, I agree with you guys. Like, I did think the graffiti there was a little bit much, especially because it's on the, like, I thought she was gonna draw on the bottle of the sherry, like the sherry bottle, and I was like, that would have been okay. But like drawing on the desk was like, all right, girl, calm down. But when I feel like it starts to unravel when you're in the office, like his good guy halo, because you find the letters that he's never given Chloe,
And
and you
then-
find the voided checks that she's stopped cashing for about a year, I think. So like you start to see that, yes, although he had good intentions from the start, it's sort of becoming twisted now into
Right.
Yeah.
something
And-
more negative.
And then you find
mean,
like
he's-
the money stash, and then you realize that
Yes.
like he's been in cahoots with Damon for something. Like, I didn't feel like that was entirely explained, why the two of them are like have like he has a burner phone connected to Damon, and the two of them are like in cahoots or whatever. But I just feel
think
like
it
that whole
Sorry, go ahead.
No, I just feel like that whole like so I never quite trusted him. Like, yeah, like the beginning, the front half of episode 3 was kind of like, okay, well, he's doing it for his daughter, but like I kind of got a sense that like, okay, if he's willing to like cut this woman out of his daughter's life, like what else is he willing to do? Because he had that, if you snoop around the house at the end of episode 2, he has a file with like Sarah and Frank in it, like sitting in his living room. So it's like,
Yeah.
what is going on here? So when I found the money and I found the burner and all that other stuff and the evidence, I was just like, yeah, this totally makes sense. Like, it's a crooked DA.
Seriously. I mean, I can I was like, I get it. You want to protect your daughter. Like, sure. But then when I'm like, okay, you're working with like this guy you're trying to catch, that you're telling everyone you're working so hard to catch, you want to take care of her. I'm not sure. Obviously, I don't think James wanted Damon to kill off Sarah. I think he just, because he injected her with drugs, right? Isn't that all he did later on
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
Yeah.
the. Why? I don't know.
It seems to me like it's for her father being one of the bigger examples of this. I think one of the messages of Before the Storm in general has been how like good intentions, like intentions that are good and actions that are carried out because you want to protect someone or for the benefit of someone else. Like, you may think like, yes, this is the thing that I have to do to protect this person, but how very easily like the road to hell is paved with good intentions, like how very easily your intentions can warp and how badly those intentions can warp you. Like, I'm thinking about Rachel's dad, but I'm also thinking about like Elliot. That's his name, right?
Yeah.
Elliot.
Yeah.
Oh my
Which is
god.
the
I
next.
didn't like that.
This scene, I have not felt so uncomfortable in a scene. So I actually like was kind of triggered by this scene because I had something similar like this happen to me like when I was like younger. So this scene made me very, 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 very anxious, but I think it's one of those, like, it's one of the scenes in this series, in the Before the Storm series, that I think has probably been more well written. Like, it was very scary. It was very tense. Like, Chloe trying to like you have the option, like I think you only have like one shot. You can either convince him to be like, hey man, it's okay. You can tell him everything that's going on, which I elected not to do. I don't know if you guys
Yeah, I didn't tell him
What
anything
is
either
the
because I
next
was like, number
decision,
one,
Brittany?
get the fuck out of my
Yeah,
business.
Brittany, what's the next
I don't
decision?
care about you. I forgot who you were, and then you showed up at the hospital with this dumb hot dog stuffed animal
Right.
balloon thing, and I was like, oh yeah, you exist. Bye.
Yeah, and he
And then
follows.
he followed
So
me.
he follows. So Elliot follows Chloe to Rachel's house, comes into the thing, and is like, "Chloe, what's going on? I care about you. Tell me what's going on." And if you don't tell him what's going on, he gets violent in a way that's very much like, "I care about you more than anyone else, and you owe me. I've given
Yep.
you my emotions. You owe me yours," which is an incredibly scary, incredibly like just like real weird like awful thing that happens. And you can kind of see like in the first episode when he was like, hey, you want to go to the play together, I was like, okay, like this relationship is probably not going to survive the series. And every time you interact with him, Chloe's like, no, I'm sorry, not now. And I was kind of like, I really hope this doesn't come back to bite me in the ass. And I didn't think about it. I was just like, sorry, Elliot, not today, bye. And then that scene happened in Rachel's house, and I was just like, oh fuck, like I screwed this up. What are the decisions around that?
So there's no stats on that. Yeah, which
because
is
it's a
kind of
back talk.
interesting. It's a back talk.
Wait, did you fail this too, Andrea? That back talk?
Yes, I'm pretty sure.
You only
what
get one
happened?
shot.
I'm pretty sure I failed every back talk.
So does he like figure it out?
Well, no, he starts asking you questions, and you, as Chloe, have some options to get out. You can either try to walk past him, at which point he stands in front of you, and then locks the door and turns on the alarm system and is like, no one is leaving this room until you understand what I'm telling you, which is fucking
And then
scary.
doesn't he shove her?
He shoves
into
her.
the death?
He
And he's
shoves
like,
her.
why did you make me do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very like
I was
super,
like, all right, you're gone.
super toxic masculinity bad. And then you have the opportunity. What I did as Chloe is I secretly dialed, like you dial 911 on the burner phone and you leave it open. And depending on what you say, you're trying to get to alert the person on the phone where you are and what's happening without him figuring it out. And I fucked it up immediately. And he was like, what? And like it got really violent and bad. And I guess you just like have to leave or whatever. But it was really upsetting.
I successfully dialed sneak dialed 911, and then it ended because we heard the sirens.
Yeah, same here.
And
Oh, see,
she's
I
like,
broke a window.
I broke the window too.
I had to break the window.
But you
Oh,
had the
really?
sirens show up, Steimer?
Yeah, it's like woo woo, police are here, and then I think you kind of go like, oh, and you like shove him back in the room, and you like run out, and you're like, take care of his body. You just
Oh, so
Or-
what happened to me was I heard the sirens, and he's like, because to win the back talk, I just kind of played like the victim in the sense that I was like, I'm suffering, Elliot, and I need your help. What you blah blah blah. And so he's like, Chloe, the sirens are here, but it's okay. I'll take care of everything. We'll be fine. And so I'm just like, okay. And then he opens the door, or she opens the door, I can't remember. And then she just kind of like walks past him and sneaks out. And I think he's feeling like, okay, I'm going to take care of this. I'm the big bad guy, blah, blah, blah. And then meanwhile, you make your escape.
So
And then shove him.
So then
I can't remember if she shoved him, but I remember like it wasn't a walk out the door. It was like as soon as he opened the door, she kind of bolted and was like, bye.
So Brittany, in the final montage that shows the status of all of the characters at the end of the story, what was Elliot doing for you if you kind of got him to think he was saving you?
Oh, I didn't see this.
I didn't see that either.
Because in mine, after I like broke the window and ran, and basically the whole time was like, sorry dude. The last time you see him, he's packed up his entire dorm room.
Oh, yeah.
And he rips the photo.
Because he's been kicked out of school.
And he
For
rips
being
the
a
photo in
freak.
half. Yeah.
So it sounds like it was the same ending. But yeah,
Definitely
same
a
thing happened.
creeper. Yeah.
Yeah, that was scary. That was a really scary scene.
I'm conflicted about this scene for a couple of reasons. I appreciate that, they are tackling a very like real issue that people go through, but I feel like I got more upset at the fact that they gave so much time in this episode to Elliot, this character who really doesn't play into the main narrative that's happening right now. Took this entire scene to just essentially make him a throwaway character. He's been a throwaway character this whole series.
Well, the reason, like, I actually feel like the reason that they did this, because this whole thing sneaks up on you. I don't think anyone really saw this coming. It sneaks up on you. It drags on. It's dangerous. It's tense. People who like go off the deep end and like people who like do these things, like nobody ever expects anyone, like everyone expects everyone to just be a decent human being. If you're friends with someone, like this is a classic example of like Chloe not seeing the warning signs, or maybe Elliot not getting the help that he needs. Like these kind of things happen out of the blue. So I can understand why they took a throwaway character and were like, and now this thing is happening, because that's how these situations happen. If it had been someone like Nathan, I feel like we would have all expected it. Because it would have been too neat. It would have been putting a little bow on something. And here's more bad behavior from this guy. You expect to have bad behavior. Chloe didn't expect one of her friends to do this to her. So I can see why they wrote it this way and why they structured it this way.
Interesting, because what I was wondering, I mean, that makes sense. I was like, okay, how the hell is how is she gonna get out of here? She's clearly put her fingerprints all over everything. She's drawn on the cabinets, like money is missing, and he's a DA. He's going to figure it out. And then when I saw Elliot in there, I'm like, okay, this is really tense. But I was wondering, is this just an easy scapegoat for Chloe? Because they're going to obviously think that Elliot was one who broke in. I mean, assuming they're not going to dust for fingerprints or anything like that. But
I mean, that too.
maybe a combination.
He's going to save the situation.
I want to backtrack on a couple interesting things that happened that we didn't talk about. The first one is in the hospital. Did you listen in on the conversation about Nathan Prescott?
No.
Yes.
I did not either.
What is it?
Do you remember? Okay, what I remember of it, no, I was a blubbering mess. Was it a psychiatrist that the doctor was trying to convince his father? He's like, hey, basically your son is showing a lot of warning signs. I'm worried that he's mentally ill, like some really bad shit could happen. And the dad's like, my son is totally fine. There's nothing that my son needs. And then they shut the door and you can't hear anymore.
Oh my
God. That was
God.
some terrible foreshadowing.
Yeah.
Yes.
The other thing in the hospital was when you are playing D&D with Mikey and Drew and Steph as Chloe, there comes a point in my playthrough, and I talked about this earlier, where it's just you and Mikey and you're surrounded by all of this evil, and it's Mikey's like, okay, I can do something, but it's gonna kill me or all of us or you. And Chloe says something, and I can't remember exactly what she said, but it was, again, like foreshadowing to the end of Life is Strange, where she sacrifices herself for Max, for the world, essentially. And she's like, hey, you know, if one of us, at least one of us should make it out of here, blah, 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 blah. And like, again, it was much more moving than that. But I would encourage you to go back and watch that, listen to her dialogue during that moment, because it's a gut punch, because it's almost like she knows what's going to happen to her. Granted, she doesn't, but it was a very hard moment.
I definitely need to play this
Yeah, that was
episode again.
Yeah.
The thing that I never cried or was even like close to crying, but it did like give me a sad when you're like, she's like, Chloe, it's gonna take more than that to get rid of me, and you're like all these things about like, oh, we almost lost her, blah blah, and I'm like, you guys have no idea, like
Also, like,
you're
so
about to.
hard.
Also, like Rachel's biological mother is addicted to like opiates, and that's what Nathan overdosed her on and killed her on, which is ironic and awful.
Yeah.
Ugh. Okay. So this all takes us to you. After you have this information, you go to the hospital, and you can either reveal the truth to Rachel, or well, actually, no, a lot happens. Sorry. You meet up with Sarah, and Damon's there at the mill.
At the old burned down mill.
Yeah. And I had the money for Damon. Does everyone have the money for Damon? Yes.
I had given the money to Damon previously in episode 2.
The new money. The money.
No,
the
the
new
new money.
money.
The money from the office.
Yes, I had the money.
The bigger money.
The bigger money. And so what happened in my playthrough, I'm pretty sure it was like the same for everyone. You walk in, and Sarah's tied up, and Damon's like about to inject her with heroin, I'm assuming. I thought it was like a death drug or something that would like kill her.
I thought he was gonna overdose her on heroin.
That's what I thought too.
And you walk in, and you're like, hey, I just gathered up the courage. I have your money. Everything's going to be fine. It doesn't have to go out this way. You're playing as Chloe, obviously. And obviously that doesn't fly well. And then Frank appears. You see, the last thing you see before Chloe passes out by being hit is basically Frank and Damon fighting, and Sarah just kind of slumped over in her desk. Correct? Mm-hmm. Did I miss any important details?
No.
That is essentially it.
And then this was weird because you wake up, and I thought this was like a dream sequence.
I did too. I was
Okay.
like, this is surely not real.
No.
And she's dead because, like, why would you just inject someone with a normal amount of heroin?
Yeah.
Like,
And she's just sitting there like smoking a cigarette, and it's kind of like hazy, and there's like echoes, like the things that would make you think like this is a dream sequence.
right. Similar to
right.
the ones with her dad that she's had several times throughout this episode.
Right. And then Chloe and Sarah have a conversation. Sarah's essentially like, please don't tell Rachel that this happened. Please don't tell her, blah, blah, blah. Don't tell her about her father. She deserves to have a good father. She deserves not to have that taken away from her. Please don't tell her anything. A lot. So at this point, which is baffling to me, I thought that I had romanced Rachel because we had talked about it so many times, but clearly I had not because I had Rachel's bracelet. So at that point, before Sarah was able to walk away, I was able to give her the bracelet.
See, I didn't
I
get
didn't
the
have
bracelet.
that,
I didn't
no.
have the bracelet from episode 2. I didn't.
Right. Because you guys kissed her, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we kissed.
Yeah. So I took her bracelet, and I was able to give her the bracelet. And
That's a
that
shitty
ultimately-
thing for them to do, to make you to get the better ending where you have the bracelet by not kissing her. That
Right.
makes me mad.
Wait, how is that the better ending?
because
not
you get a scene at the end where Rachel meets Sarah.
If you have the
Only if you have the bracelet?
only if you have the bracelet.
What
It's like-
the
it's-
fuck? Sorry.
It's Chloe. So it's Chloe and Rachel on the bench, the iconic bench in Arcadia Bay, and Sarah just kind of like walks out of the woods in a sense, and Rachel's like, ah, and then they hug and they embrace, and
Are
it's
you
really sweet.
fucking kidding me?
I'm not.
That's
Deck
looked it
Nine
up.
Games. That's a dirty
here-
trick. That's a dirty trick. That
Yeah.
makes me
Especially
upset.
because it's theoretically harder to kiss her than it is to get her bracelet.
It is. It's
So,
harder
like,
to kiss
why
her.
do I?
I worked hard for that fucking action, and now you're gonna punish me?
Just like
So-
real life.
Jesus!
Yeah.
Just like real life, Saber. Just like
I
real
don't
life.
know if this came. I don't know if this came into play when they were making the decision that the only way Sarah gets to meet Rachel is if you give her the bracelet. But because in Life is Strange, even if you romance Rachel and Before the Storm, you know that relationship's doomed anyway. Because
Right.
she hooks up with Frank and she hooks up with Mr. Jefferson.
Yeah.
I don't know if that came into play there, but anyway, I got that scene in the end. But we're skipping ahead. Did you tell Rachel the truth?
No.
Yes.
Fuck that bitch.
No.
I told her the truth. So
Yeah.
it's really close. 49% of people told Rachel the truth. 51% did not tell Rachel the truth.
Wow. So it's
I'm
pretty
really
split.
mad.
Yeah, that was kind of a hard decision.
I'm
to
really
make, right?
mad.
What happens when you tell her?
When you tell her
She
the
freaks
truth.
out.
Yeah.
She there's no words ever really spoken besides you see Chloe starting to say like, I gotta tell you something, and then it kind of like fades out and you
Music
just see
plays,
Rachel's like expressions.
talk.
Like it's it's incredibly well done. I would encourage that you watch it. And like the look of like just pure pissed offness in Rachel's eyes as her dad comes in is just like gut wrenching.
Yeah.
They did such a good job at nailing that moment. But I don't think that changes really the ending at all.
Yeah, so before this decision, I left the screen on and I went to the internet and was like, what do I do, internet? I was like, which ending do I pick? Because I kind of knew what I wanted to do, but I wanted to know like what happened. So I'd like looked at the walkthrough of all the different endings, which is how I found out about the bracelet thing. And I knew that I didn't have the bracelet. And I was like, this is
Mother-
bullshit.
Fucker.
So I decided to just go with the ending because, like, in my mind, I'm like, I knew that Rachel was gonna die, and so I was like, I know that she's gonna die relatively soon, a couple of years, and so I'm going to spare her. I'm like, it'd be different if I think if I knew that she was going to live, or if I had even the perception that she was going to live a long, happy life, that she would eventually find out the truth anyway, and so I would have told her the truth. But I was like, she's only got a couple years left. Let her have some bliss with a happy family and not have the strife and the anguish. And so I didn't tell her.
Yeah, that was kind of my thought too. Was
So
like,
how'd that scene play out?
there-
You two.
there's no point in telling her this. Like, just yeah, exactly. Like, let her have some moment of happiness. And also, I don't know. I guess the whole time, and especially in this episode, I felt like I started to dislike Rachel because Rachel to me is what Chloe is in life, and I find this interesting. And I think Chloe's probably end up mirroring Rachel's behavior after she dies, because Rachel pushes and manipulates Chloe a lot, especially in this episode. Like, oh, please find my mom. Like, ask your fucking dad if you really want to meet her that badly. Like, just ask your father. Eventually, he'll probably get worn down. He'll let you meet her.
Mhm.
But instead, like, forcing Chloe to go through all these, like, extremely dangerous. Obviously, she gets stabbed. Like, Rachel gets stabbed in the arm, almost dies. And then she's like, but I still want to find her, so can you go, hang out with the drug dealers again and, like, try and figure this out? I got stabbed, almost fatally stabbed, but, like, you should be fine. Go ahead. And I felt like Chloe does similar stuff to Max in Life is Strange, where she doesn't have a lot of regard for their, like, the other person's life. And, like, hey, when a Max uses her powers, she has nosebleeds. She's clearly physically affected by this, but keep using them because it's benefiting me, and I want to get to the end of this road.
Yeah, Chloe learns that emotional manipulation from Rachel.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I did find that interesting, but it also made me angry. I was like, evil people. I don't like it.
I was so torn with emotions at the end of it because, like, I was mad at Rachel for, like, sending me out, and then I was mad at Sarah for asking me to not tell Rachel, and then at the end of it all, like, without Rachel getting to meet Sarah, like, I think my biggest takeaway and what was, like, really sad for me, and, like, even, like, seeing them happy was that, like, I didn't get to see enough of them being happy together. I didn't get to see them not in, like, strife, and not, like, I didn't get to see them enjoying each other's company and getting to hang out. Like, that's why I really loved that scene in the junkyard, because it was, like, this one moment where it's, like, they got to share this, like, moment of happiness in, like, an otherwise kind of bleak narrative experience for them. And that was tough. How did you guys feel about the ending? Let's the credits sequence aside.
You mean the scene after the credits?
Yeah, before we get there, how did you feel about the way that it ended after you made your big decision?
I'm so fucking mad because I didn't have the fucking bracelet, so I couldn't meet her fucking mom.
So that's part of
such
the reason
bullshit.
why I told Rachel the truth was I'm like, okay, I know this girl only has like 3 more years to live. I'm like, that sucks. Clearly, like, she knows that she just found out that this mom is like a thing that exists that she never knew. And I was like, all right, so if I like tell her like, hey, this is what's going on, your mom is out there, your dad's been a shady asshole. I'm like, if I don't tell her that, she's not gonna be able to meet her. So I'm like, all right. And I may or may not have looked online and learned that if I tell her.
I'm not the only one.
Wait, so if you had given her the bracelet but had not protected her, she wouldn't have met her?
I don't know that.
Oh,
the
okay,
part I
okay.
looked up was the conversation with Sarah and Chloe, because I thought that was like a dream sequence. So I looked at the spoilers of your decision you make during that, after the scene had already played out, and it said, note that as Sarah leaves, you can give her the bracelet, and this will trigger a scene at the end of the game where Rachel gets to meet Sarah. So I mean, knowing how the game was going to, knowing her fate already, I was pleased with my ending because she did get to meet her mom, and that was kind of my ultimate goal. But I knew there wouldn't be a lot of happy people who didn't have the bracelet to give her.
Yep, that was me.
I feel like after Before the Storm, their relationship makes more sense because both of them come from essentially broken homes where they don't trust their parents. So that makes a lot of sense, but unfortunately, it does explain a lot of basically how shitty Chloe is in the main game, because she was emotionally manipulated for so long and now she's pushing these behaviors on Max. But also, like, her whole support system, which was just this one other girl, is gone. Like, that, like,
again, her dad, her dad being such a pillar for her, losing him, and then like being like, okay, well, you're sort of a replacement for me, one person I trust, and then to have her gone as well.
And that's the other thing about her dad. Like, the last conversation she has with her ghost dad is her being like, did you ever lie to me? Like, she starts to question whether or not the good relationship she had with her father when he was alive was a lie or not. Like, she starts to question everything, seeing how basically every adult around her is lying or hiding something, or is being manipulated, or like Rachel's mom, just being totally complacent in these awful things that are happening. So Chloe, by the end of this series, doesn't trust anyone. And I think the most upsetting takeaway for this series was not necessarily knowing that Chloe found this person and Rachel's going to die, but like just how shaken Chloe's faith was in literally everybody. The fact that she's questioning her memories with her father, who we've up till now seen, like, her father was her rock. Like, she loved her father. Like, his death completely broke her. And having her go back being like, well, did I have the kind of relationship I thought I had? Just crushed me.
I also think though that Chloe doesn't give Joyce enough credit. Like, they've never set Joyce up as anything other than a dedicated, loving mother. And no matter what she does, Chloe just continues to push her away. And that is incredibly frustrating for me, because I see, parallels to people that I know in like real life and like having these situations, and I'm just like, but like Joyce is there, and like this idea that Chloe is perpetually alone, that she lost her dad and lost Rachel and lost Max. Like, no, Joyce is desperately trying to be there for her, and she just keeps pushing her away, and that made me so angry. I'm like, don't do that to your moms, everybody. Your moms want to be in your life. Let them be there. Call your mom tonight after you listen to the podcast.
Oh my god, I finished this episode when I was home in Connecticut, and after I finished it, I like wandered out to the living room where like my dad was watching TV, and I was just like, hi Dad, and he was like, did you play something sad? And I'm like, yeah. There was
That's
a dad
so funny,
in it.
because like I called my mom after I finished that episode, and she doesn't know shit about games, but she acts very interested, like a good mom. And I'm like telling her all this backstory. I talked about 25 minutes about Life is Strange and this game and how it affected me. And she's like, oh wow, honey, oh wow. Well, she's like, go have some whiskey and go sit in the hot tub and just like calm down. I was like, okay.
That's amazing.
God, the scenes with her dad wrecked me every time. Just an emotional, very like visceral episode. There's nothing good happened in this episode except for when she met her mom. Mm-hmm. That was just
that didn't happen for 3/4 of us.
So the final statistic is 88% of people. For 88% of people, Rachel did not meet her mom, and only 12% met her mother.
That to me is a giant fuck up. That
is a fuck up.
I love this game, and I like Deck 9 a lot, but to me, when you have a choice like that that's so one-sided, and when I played, it was 91-9. Like 91% of people had not met her. And I'm like, that to me means that something in your pathing, in your narrative's branching, you fucked up somewhere.
Right. Also, that's not fair to tell players that you have to work hard to get the kiss in episode 2. But if you work hard to get that thing in episode 2, you still can't get the thing in episode 3. That is not fair.
And it doesn't make sense. I mean, I feel like, because I have the bracelet, I feel like if I was like Rachel's girlfriend, I could be like, Sarah, Rachel is like a beautiful person. I love her so much. Here's a photo we took of each other, or something that would keep the wheels turning in Sarah's head. So I understand your frustration. It just seems odd.
It was a frustrating choice for me as a player that not only did I not know the significance of the bracelet in the moment, but that they would lock off such a huge, impactful choice behind something in a previous episode, so that I'm forced to go back and replay not just episode 3, but I had to replay episode potentially 1 and 2 to make sure that I have the right choices lined up to be able to get the bracelet instead of the other option. And it was tough, but I will say, as tough as that was, not getting to have that moment with Rachel and Sarah, that post-credit scene was fucking
unnecessary,
devastating. I don't think it was unnecessary. I think they needed. I think we talked about this in our last spoiler cast. We were like, how are they going to connect it? How are they going to get from where we are in episode 2 to like what we know happens in Life is Strange?
Oh my god, it just hurt. It just hurt.
I apparently missed this. I need to go on YouTube and watch it.
Oh, you didn't see
What?
it?
Oh, no! Because what happened was I was playing this game and I had a presentation early in the morning, and so as soon as it was over, I was like, I have to go to bed. It's past midnight. So I like put the PS4 in sleep mode, forgot that there would be an end credit scene, and went to bed because I had to. And now I'm like, oh shit, there probably was an end credit scene.
You should watch it, but for people who are in your position that also didn't watch it, I'm going to describe it. Essentially, it's a scene where it kind of like fades up and we see a phone that's like vibrating silently, like someone's trying to call.
It says Chloe calling.
17 missed calls.
And we're in the basement in the dark room, and you can see like the camera flash. You can like hear the pop of the camera flash in the background, and it's like the phone is just ringing. It's like missed calls, Chloe calling, and it's like it like
That
fucking
killed
pulled
me.
at me in such a way that it made me just like hurt. I was like,
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever gasped. Like, I knew something was coming. No one had spoiled it for me, but I had seen people say, like, oh my God, that post-credit scene, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, crap. I knew it was going to be a gut puncher anyway without reading those. So I had played through, and I had to break the game up in 2 parts because the 3rd episode, because it was too emotional for me. So I stepped away, I come back, I wrap it up. I'm watching the credits. And Jason and Reb, like, walk in. They're like, hey, what are you doing? And I'm all, like, pinky puff-eyed, and I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I love you, but can you just please, like, leave
not
the room
right
for a few minutes?
now.
I'm like, because I have a feeling I'm about to have a moment. So they left, and I'm like, okay, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna be? I thought it would maybe show like a Chloe posting wanted photos of missing photos of Rachel, you know, like the flyers or whatnot.
Yeah.
And then when I heard like the vibrating and I literally like put my hands over my head like this, and I gasped so loud, and my face contorted and it scrunched, and I just started ugly crying. It wrecked me, completely wrecked me.
I like you. I was expecting like her putting up posters or her being missing or something, but I feel like showing that image like actually in the dark room, like maybe in the moment that she fucking dies, like is real. It was too close. Like it was just too close.
No, I think it was a smart move, because I feel like in Life is Strange, Rachel is such an aloof character that she's so untouchable that you don't really know who she is. You have no connection to her. And then even when you find out, when Chloe finds out that, you know, like the body that they found is Rachel in the junkyard, it doesn't have that same weight that it does now that we've met Rachel, that we've seen this relationship between Chloe and Rachel, and like what happens to her and how she's brutalized. I feel like is so much more impactful now, knowing who she is as a person, instead of her just being like a Jane Doe, you know, like,
Yeah.
you know, and that's, I think, why that scene was important, to be like, this terrible fucking thing happens to this beautiful person who has this really unique relationship with this protagonist. And I think they tied it together in a way that they needed to without overstating it. No?
No.
So sad.
I know. No doubt. Like it's sad. It's tragic. And like it reminds me how I don't know if I'd go as far as saying that Don't Nod jumped the shark in like episode 5 and like went off the deep end with what was happening in that story.
Oh no, in that like Twin Peaks nightmare world, yes, that was
Yeah.
a shark. That was several sharks jumping all at once.
But I feel like the work that the Deck 9 did kind of brought a little bit more legitimacy to that crazy story of this professor turned like pedophile photographer guy doing like rapey things in his basement. You know, like like that whole thing felt a little bit far-fetched, a little bit too like Law and Order SVU for me.
A little bit too Twin Peaks, yes.
But with the way that they set it up now, you know, like it's heartbreaking. It's heartbreaking what happens to her.
I went back and watched the scene where they discover Rachel's body
Ugh.
again. I read some Wikipedia entries. Basically, every time that Rachel is mentioned, I went through and like read that instance for Life is Strange. And now, yeah, like you said, Andrew, having that perspective, it's like, oh, like when Max finds that letter to Chloe where she's essentially saying she's found someone who's completely changed her life. She's talking about Jefferson. You know, every time you see the doe, that's a symbol of Rachel. And it's just like, oh God, I want to play it again. But I'm a little... Now, I know 3 years passed between Before the Storm and Life is Strange, but I'm worried, like, seeing the characters that I feel like have been evolved in Before the Storm and then seeing them in Life is Strange. I don't know if that would dampen my experience. Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I was hoping that there was going to maybe be a moment between Rachel and Frank that set up their ultimate friendship, or potentially more than a friendship down the line, because obviously in Life is Strange, you know, you find the photos of Frank and Rachel together, and it indicates that they have some kind of a close relationship, if not a romantic. I assumed it was a romantic relationship.
It
And
is,
so
yeah.
clearly, like, if you are, even if you're good friends, if not, you know, like more than friends with Rachel at the end of this, she clearly leaves Chloe romantically between now and her death, because she also, you know, like, is hanging out with Nathan, and there's certainly a lot that happens in those 3 years, and that's life. Life can change really dramatically in,
Life,
in
you might
3
say.
years.
It's strange.
Indeed.
That was great.
It is. But yeah, I was kind of hoping to see a little bit of like, even just like a one-liner or something that like opened the door for what's gonna happen with Chloe and Frank. But
You mean with
alas.
Rachel and Frank?
Yes, sorry, Rachel and Frank.
Yeah, because that is a good point. Because I mean, Chloe is the only one who really interacts with him throughout the whole thing.
But somewhere
like-
along the line, yeah, Rachel, you know, does a lot of drugs, and she ends up with Frank, and then Mr. Jefferson, and it's like,
I don't know
huh?
if she does a lot of drugs so much. Like, I got the impression he would just drug them during the sessions. I don't know.
No,
if
I'm
she's,
talking
like...
when she was with Frank, because I think
Oh.
is it Nathan? Someone somewhere suggests that Rachel's only with the Frank for the ease of drugs and for the for the access of drugs.
I didn't.
Yeah, it makes me feel even sadder for Chloe knowing that, because she does still talk. Like, she never talks about her in a way that would suggest that she would be like, that she would know that all this is going on behind her back. Meaning, like, to me, I think Chloe thought they were still in a relationship that entire time, just the way she spoke of her. So then it kind of makes me like mad at Rachel even more, that she would manipulate this person that she claims to care about and claims to be like the only one who understands her and all of these things, but will go behind her back and sleep with Frank and, like, you know, whatever, do all this weird shit with Mr. Jefferson, which by the way is not a great idea.
No,
Mr. Jefferson didn't see that coming. I didn't.
No, I didn't know that. I live streamed those episodes, and my face at the end of that reveal was like, oh, like, I just like freaked out. I was like, what the fuck? That guy? That fucking guy?
Man, so many emotions going through me right now.
All of the shots.
So we still have to check out Farewell, which is the little mini episode with Max and Chloe, with the original voice actresses returning to reprise their roles. I would say we could probably also do a spoiler cast about that. I don't think it's going to be nearly as revelatory as clearly these 3 episodes have been.
that is juicy.
But any parting thoughts, ladies, on Life is Strange Before the Storm as a whole?
I do find it interesting that I think it's just something that we've kind of already stated, but to retroactively feel bad about a game I already played, like, if that makes sense. Like, I didn't care that much about Rachel in the first instance. Like, it was a sad storyline, but you're like mostly sad just because the world is fucked up. And now you're like, oh, you've given me context in a way that it changes a thing that I played before, but also doesn't make me want to go back and play that thing. Like, I'm fine with the way that it happened, but
yeah, I think Deck Nine did a real. I don't know how the development process went. I don't know if they talked with Don't Nod. I was like, do you have
They
story
did,
for this?
yeah.
Lore? They did.
They
okay.
worked with Don't
Well,
Nod.
they should have a phenomenal job, and this is by far it's been like the most emotional game I've ever played, and it felt so visceral and so real for me because every character that you meet, I feel like I knew that person in high school.
Yeah.
So it really connected with me. It was just very well done.
I felt like the writing was really, really strong. Like, I actually liked Before the Storm a lot better than the original Life is Strange.
Hella.
No, I thought the writing was really strong. I thought that they did a really good job making small, mundane things or normal things seem really impactful and really like, I had a lot of anxiety playing this game, which means the decisions were tough. So, yeah.
Yeah, the relationships felt real. The decisions felt based and grounded in reality. I agree that it felt like it had a more natural flow overall than Life is Strange did. And I think that is also a testament to that they kept it to 3 episodes instead of trying to stretch out certain story points into 5 episodes. I think the original Life is Strange could have probably benefited from being 4 episodes maybe instead of 5.
Yep.
But overall, like, I named it as one of my top 10 games of 2017. Really excellently done. At this point, if you're still listening to us and you haven't played this game, I don't know what you're doing, but really excellent. And I can see myself playing through this again and picking different choices and seeing all the different cutscenes and the way that it played out. But it's rare that a video game makes you feel something so viscerally as Life is Strange did. And so for that, hats off to both Deck 9 and Square Enix for believing in this franchise, and for all the people out there who we met at PAX when we did our Life is Strange event at PAX West, who talked about how this series meant something to them. It was really great working with Square on this project, and I'm kind of sad to see it end. But the good news,
There's a sequel coming.
is Life is Strange 2 is happening. We have no idea who's going to be in that game, but maybe we'll find out at E3 this year.
Oh boy,
Fingers crossed.
video game.
Would you ladies, okay, quick question. So now that we played Before the Storm without any like supernatural elements, and we played Life is Strange with sort of supernatural elements, would you want Life is Strange 2 to have those or to not have those, or do you care?
I hope it doesn't have them because now they feel gimmicky. Now that I've played Before the Storm.
I feel like if they can tie it in narratively where it makes sense, like they did with Life is Strange, and have it not feel gimmicky, then I'm down. I'm into it. But
Yeah.
I don't need it.
They could do so. Like Before the Storm has supernatural elements to it, but they're just not playable. Like the fire, basically, it's more symbolic than
Sure.
anything. So I think just so long as they have some element, they can do whatever they want with it. Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you for hanging with us through this spoiler cast of Hell is Empty, episode 3 of Life is Strange. We will be back next week with more video game commentary, analysis, and hopefully some funny stuff. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. We hope you have a fantastic weekend. If you would like, please reach out. Let us know your thoughts about the spoiler cast in the comments below. We love you all. Wow.